What's good, YouTube? Welcome back to my channel. I'm bringing you another part of this interview with Joe Baker since the first part seems to have done so well. In this part, he's talking about how he escaped from jail. So let's get right into it.
No. After this happened, they take me to the observation cell, which is where intake is at, which is where I caught the escape on the murder case.
Okay.
As as I'm in intake, I could see the control buttons because it's clear, it's open. I can see, I can hear. It's two doors you got to go through. There's just push doors, and then you got the door that they got to hit the button for. You go in, they're supposed to close, security, Then the other door opens so you can go out.
To Sally Port.
Sally Port. So I'm peeping. All of this is what's going on, and of course they done called mobile crisis, so they got me taking medication, all this old stuff. So I'm trying to figure out how to pull this off, and just so happened I'm flooding my cell a lot. I'm acting a fool, or I'm kicking the door, and there was a lady. I can say her name. We got Miss Huberry. Miss Huberry used to let me out of the cell basically to keep me calm. So she let me out of the cell, and I'm cleaning one day, and as I'm cleaning, a guy comes in, and she was like, "You gotta go back in the cell. Let me get him processed in. I'm gonna let you back out." But when she closed the door, she didn't lock it. She just pushed it up. She was like, "I'm gonna let you back out," and she walked off. And my thought was, cut the lights off, lay down, act like you sleep. So I did just that. Boom, cut the lights off. I lay down. I'm chilling. After that, when after she got him processed in, and I'm laying there, the med call happened. So the med card coming around, I hear it, but I ain't thinking because I'm thinking she comes around, she goes and the door's unlocked, and she goes off immediately. Who left Baker's door unlocked? Everybody knows he's a flight risk, he's a high risk inmate, all this, and that. And she just goes crazy. And they was like, it's a mistake. We was gonna let him back out. He was cleaning, whatever. She was like, nah, y'all can't do this with Baker. So she ended up locking the door, and I'm thinking, dang, I'll never get that opportunity again.
We
2-3
already
days
know,
go by.
boy.
I flood the cell. And as I'm flooding the cell, the captain of the jail at the time is my cousin. So
What a coincidence.
First of all, do you know what flooding the cell is?
It's what you stuff the sink or the toilet with paper, and then what? The only reason I know that is because we never posted this video. You and Boziak were reviewing the Mr. Beast locked in jail, and someone in that video was doing that, and you and
Wow.
Boziak were like, "Yeah,
Okay.
he's been in jail before."
That's funny.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm flooding the cell. They don't know. They don't know I'm flooding it because what I did was I clogged the door.
Yeah.
And I just flooded and let it get up, and then I moved it and let it just yeah. So when all the water came out, the two lady officers, they looking over at me, and then the guy officer, he mad. He come over, he unlocks the door. He basically was ready to fight me at the time. You know the thing, they got the chair. They lock you up in the chair. They put the mask on you. He was like, "Are you going in the chair?" And I was like, "Man, I ain't going in the chair." He was like, "Are you going in the chair?" And I was like, "You know what? Cool, I'll go in the chair." So they put one handcuff on me. And when he put me on, I was like, nah, if he put me in that chair, they're gonna leave me in there for hours this time. Cause they done did it before. I was like, I ain't doing that, not tonight. And I was like, man, get out of me. I was like, I ain't going in that chair. And when I yanked away, he took it, that's almost basically assault on the officer.
Right.
Yeah, when I yanked away, he was like, "Oh, so what?" He kind of grabbed, and it's water. So we kind of tussling. He slips in the water in the boots. He goes down. When he go down, the other person, I kind of cause I go down with him, and I pushed off his chest, and I raised up. The other officer, we getting ready to go at it. My cousin come through the door. He getting up off the ground. He getting ready to punch me. And my cousin said, "If you hit him, you finna, I'm walking you right out of here." And I turned, I started laughing, and I said, "Yeah, what you gonna do?" And I still got the cuff hanging off of me. And I was like, "Tell him take this off of me, cuz." He was like, "What's going on?" And I was like, "Man, they trying to put me in the chair." I was like, he was like, "No, why is all this water in here? Like, you trying to blame my officers?" He was like, sit down. And then he told me to sit down, and he leaned in. He said, "You know what? You full of more than a turkey on Thanksgiving, cuz." He said, "What you trying to do?" I said, "I ain't trying to do nothing." I said, "What you think I'm trying to do? You think I'm trying to run?"
Yeah.
He was like, "I don't know. Are you?" I said, "I tell you what." I said, "Your officers done tried to let me out of here before." I said, "Next time they try to let me out of here, I'm gonna run." And I was lying at the time. I said, "Next time they tell me I can go," I said, "I'm gonna leave." And he said, "If I get a call and they tell me you're going, I'm gonna fire that entire shift." I said, "All right." He said, "I'm telling you, watch and see what I tell you." 2 days went by. It might not even been 2 days. I was out cleaning. She let me out to clean. A guy come in, And soon as he came in, he was, I ain't going in no holding cell. I'm about to make bond. My people followed us up here. My people outside right now. And she told me, she said, step in the cell. Let me get him processed in. I'm going to let you back out.
Why
She
they do
closed the
this
door, the
again?
exact same thing. I turned the light off, took my clothes off, laid down. By this time, I'm watching him do all this yelling.
I don't want to pause it. He is on a roll. Y'all didn't learn from this the first time. Y'all just got cussed out. They said don't do this with Baker. Y'all did it again.
I'm knowing his people out here because the ladies kept saying, they out here, you want me to buzz them in? And she was like, yeah, you can let them in. So by that time, I hear the cart. I raise up. Soon as she hit the corner, I said, I don't need my meds, I'm good. She was like, you sure? I said, yeah, I don't want them. And she turned around. And when I laid back down. By the time that shift left and third shift came in, I guess they went around the corner and they were checking. I lift my hands under the door and barely pushed it, made sure, and I closed it back up. And I just sit there. And by the time they went, he was getting ready to come out. I heard her call his name. They went, opened the door. When he came out, he said, man, I told y'all I was making bond. I'm hoping it was somebody I knew so I can kind of tell him, look, I'm finna bust the move, get out the way. But by that time, I heard the guy say, the woman say, you want me to buzz him in? It's a guy sitting and two women in the cage. He said, yeah, go ahead and buzz him in. And I heard, I knew it was one door. And she buzzed them both. And I rose up. I thought I was tripping. And I looked out the door and I was kind of looking around and they all turned and saw me because I get my shadow, it's dark. They seen me standing in the door. They all turned, waved, and he was talking crazy. And I was like, she buzzed both of them doors. I know I ain't tripping. And I just barely tapped the door. Boom. The door swung open. The door swing this way, so I got to come out, push the door, go, and then. So the door swing, the guy turned around. Like, everything started moving in slow motion. Like, he turned, they turned, his lips, he said, I was gone. I came through the door, boom, boom. By the time I came out the door and getting ready to go to the door outside, whoever his people was, she like, oh my God. I pushed her out the way and took out running downhill. I started tumbling and I bounced up. And when I bounced up, I turned around and the officer who was sitting there and told him to buzz me in, he was standing at the top of the hill. He said the same thing every person who ever chased me said, Joe, don't do it. So, sir, your job is gone. I turned around and ran across the street. It's a neighborhood over called Indian Hills. When my homeboys lived over, but I didn't go straight there. It was a car. Another one, he was more so in my brother's. Him and my brother was cool, but his car door was unlocked. I got in the car and laid down in the dashboard for probably 2-3 hours until I seen the sun start coming up. By the time the sun started coming up, I rose up a little bit, got out of the car, ran to the house. I knew where my homeboy kept the key at. I went in, took a shower, brushed my teeth with his toothbrush,
Oh, God.
washed my face,
No.
got on the outfit, and I just laid in this bed. I just laid down, and I was like, what am I about to do? I still couldn't even believe that it happened. I got the newspaper clipping too. And he did exactly what he said. He fired them all.
What happened when your buddy came home? Did he come home and you were in this?
No. I ended up, as I'm in the house, they don't know I'm in here. I don't know the police has already been there and searched, neither.
Oh, okay.
Came there looking for me.
Hey.
So
Good job.
when I come out of the house, I can go up the driveway and his little brother room is upstairs. So I'm coming out of the house, they not knowing I'm in, and I knock on his window outside of the house. And somebody kept looking out of the blinds, and I'm like, come downstairs. So I did that 3 times, and I'm going back in the house. They don't know I'm in here, so they thinking. So by the 3rd time, I'm like, why they ain't come downstairs? So at this point, I'm like, this what's up. I go up the steps in the house, and the door to go in the living room, it was locked. I tapped on the door. And his daddy, he was like, who is that? I said, man, it's Boo. He was like, well, I don't know how you got in here. He said, he said, you can't stay. He said, you got to go. He said, they already done came over here and searched, and he was on papers at the time for a murder charge. The guy. Right.
He trying to take everybody down.
And he was like, he can't stay. But by that time, they unlocked the door. I'm looking around, and I'm wondering, where's the little brother that I kept telling, come down and unlock the door? My ex-girlfriend come from around the corner.
Oh, uh-oh.
That's who was looking out the window.
Oh, okay.
The little brother ain't even there.
Okay.
I said, what? I said, well, I said, I need a ride. Somebody take me to New Mexico, which is where my cousin Jeffrey lives. I can say his name. And she was like, I'll take him. She ended up taking me. And we went and picked up my little cousin, the little brother, and the brother that you asking me. We picked up both of them. And we was riding. They was asking me what I was gonna do or whatever. And I ended up going to Clarksville. And when I got to Clarksville, I'm sitting on the back patio with this girl I know. Her brother pulls up. He know me too. Everybody knew we had been on the newspaper, everything. He pulled up. He walked up the stairs and he jumped. And he was like, "How you?" I said, "I made bond." What he said he said it was he said it was a $500,000 bond. I said I had a bond reduction here and they dropped mine. He was like, and what about? I said they ain't dropped it yet. I said they dropped mine. He was like, oh, okay. And he was like, you hungry? I'm finna get ready to cook. I'm like, nah, I'm straight. I ain't got no appetite. He go in the house. He ain't in there 15, 20 seconds. I'm breaking news for the escape. He come right back out. He said, boo. I looked. He said, I thought you.
Yeah.
I said, He was like, but you good. And he was like, you sure you ain't home? I said, nah. I said, I ain't home. I said, I'm gonna get some sleep. I'm gonna go to Virginia in the morning. He was like, all right, cool. You like, you can go in there and lay down. I went in there, laid down. Next thing you know, the little brother shook me. By the time I raised up, he was at the bedroom door. He said, boo. He said, I'm sorry. He said, they got the house surrounded. And he ran, and he took out running. I'm already thinking, I said,
come on, man.
They must knew he had, once he out of the house, anybody else is going to be an issue. Mm-hmm. So I got up, and I'm sitting. As soon as I heard the door close, boom, the detective got on the bullhorn. He said, Baker, we know you're in the house. We don't want you hurt. We don't want nobody else to get hurt. We just want you to come out of the house. The phone ringing at the time. I'm thinking that's got to be them. So I wait for it to stop ringing. I get on the phone. I call my family because I'm basically about to go ahead and make them do it to me. I'm like, this is life in prison. Like, I'll never see daylight again. It's just not going to happen. So I'm crawling around the house, and for some reason, I'm still psyched out in my mind thinking maybe I can escape this too. I ain't knowing the nature of really what's going on outside. Mm-hmm. So I take my hands and put them under the blinds so they can see my hands, and then I put my head under the blind because I'm trying to see. Mm-hmm. News Channel 4, News Channel Fox is out here. They got mobile crisis. They got helicopters. There's police everywhere. And I'm like, it's over. Like, ain't no way I'm getting out of this. Nope. His mama, the girl mama at the house took Seroquel. I had never took Seroquel at the time, but I knew people in jail who had took Seroquel to go to sleep. So I was like, man, I'm just going to take a bunch of Seroquel. By the time they do come in here and get me, I'll be asleep. I'll go and wake up and realize I'm in jail. But it's cool. But so like I crawl in there and I take some Seroquel. Of course, I go back and forth with the officer. And then I'm thinking, I need to see the back part of the house. So when he called me on the phone, I was like, I'm thirsty. He was like, well, you can go to the back. He was like, the blinds is open. He was like, you can go in the refrigerator. I'll make sure I tell nobody not to shoot. I was like, cool. So I open the refrigerator, grab a root beer or RC, and he was like, now look to your left. And I looked, and he was standing there with the bullhorn. He waved, and he told me his name, and this, and that. And he was like, I really don't want you to get hurt. He was like, but we can't do this all day. And I was like, I'm going to make another call. And I called my girlfriend at the time who was in Virginia, where I was going to try to go. Okay. And I told her what I was about to make them do. Uh-huh. And I guess they I don't know, I guess they got the call and they called the person back that I called. And then they called me on three-way with her. Bro. Mm-hmm. And she was just telling me how selfish it was, and I had a daughter, and it isn't, and she basically talked me down. And at that point, they was like, just get down on the ground, we're gonna come in. And I was like, cool.
I want to pause it real quick and say, guys, if you're ever on the run, just keep on running. As you can see, what was his mistake? He stopped too many times. He laid down too many times. Wherever you're going, just go.
So I lay down. Next thing, I don't know what they threw in there. I don't know if it was a flash bomb or what. Like, they came in and it was insane. It was movie. And they picked me up, hog-tied me, carried me out. And when they carried me out, they threw me down on the ground. And then then they threw the flash bomb. They threw the flash bomb in there because I remember thinking, who paying for these people's damages? Like, why is you throwing bombs at these people's house? But
Nobody, not
then
them.
by the time they went in and wasn't nobody in there, they got me and they walked me to the police car, and the police reporters were running up to the car, like putting the mic, like, how did you get out of the jail? How did you get out of the jail? And I was like, they let me out. They let me out. By this time, I'm in the car. They drive me down. The serial killer already kicking in. I'm woozy. Now, I took 4 or 5 of them. I don't even know the milligram. And I had never been high, so I was out of it. So I'm getting out of, and I couldn't even walk. When they opened the door, I couldn't even walk. They was like, "What's wrong?" And I was scared. So I was like, they were like, "Did you take some?" I'm like, "Yeah, I don't know what it was, but I know it was Seroquel." So they give me this little brown cup of whatever it is. You swallow it, make it throw up instantly.
Oh,
It's yeah. They gave me that. I took it because I was scared. I could barely walk. Like they was carrying me. So I drank it, and I threw up 3 seconds. It was like everything on my stomach came up. So I'm sitting there.
What is that?
I know the charges, and I'm like, it's over. Like this is it. And 2 detectives came. They came and they opened the cell, and they was like, you know what we're here for, don't you? I said, yeah, I know exactly why you're here. They were like, well, tell us who did it. I said, they getting in trouble? They was like, probably not.
are they getting in trouble?
Yeah, but they ain't talking about the case. They talking about who let me out the jail.
Oh, okay. Oh, okay.
So I'm like, they getting it. He was like, nah, they probably just gonna lose their job. They not gonna get charged or nothing.
Yeah,
I said, well, if anybody gonna get charged, then if I can't get somebody in trouble with me right now,
Yeah,
I'm trying to take whoever
It don't
down
even
at this
matter.
point. Nah, I said, there's nobody let me out. I said, it was an honest slip up though. It really was.
Yeah.
It was an
they're
honest
just not foolproof.
Yeah,
And-
it was an honest slip.
And you're waiting for the perfect, like that perfect moment.
Yeah.
May not have come. You just
Yeah.
waited.
And
You even let one opportunity slip.
Yeah, I did.
It was a perfect storm.
It really was, man. And I ended up they put an emergency transfer on me. I was in prison before I got sentenced. They put me on what they call safekeeping. The 19th, well, where I'm from is called the 19th district. Didn't no jail want to hold me because of that situation. So they put emergency transfer on me and hold me as a maximum security inmate until my case was resolved.
Oh, that sucks.
I did 2 years and some change on max. But as I'm in there, I'm finding lawyers right after left because they trying to use that statement against me, the little bit that I did, incriminate myself. I'm telling them no. Like my lawyer, and they was like, I didn't have the receipt, and Bo Taylor wasn't. I guess they were telling me they were trying to get in touch with him, but I guess he wouldn't talk to him. And I ended up getting this lawyer named Jody Bell, Nashville, Tennessee, man. I still know that number by heart. 22441. Listen, that woman, man, I was wrong for what I did, most definitely. She came in, I told her what happened. When I was down there, I was like, I don't have a receipt. I was like, I ain't. She was like, you ain't gotta worry about that. Cause I told her, I said, he filed a motion for me to go to court. Like he was coming to get me.
Mm-hmm.
I said, what sense did it make? No video, no audio, for me to be in a 3.5 hour interrogation and not ask for my lawyer that I just got out the phone with. I've been in trouble all of my life. She was like, I tell you what, don't worry, I'm gonna get my investigator on it. She went and got it. She said the first mistake is, she said, after they signed what I guess the affidavit to arrest me, she said they never should have questioned you anyway. You should have went straight to the jail. And she said, not only that, when they got that, they knew you had a lawyer and a court case pending, so they knew you had representation.
So they shouldn't have talked to you.
Mm-mm. She said they should have took you. She said the first thing they did was they proved what time they picked me up, what time they picked me up, and what time I got to the jail. She said there was a 3-hour gap. So she ended up talking to the police officer, the patrol car, and asking them, where did you take him? They didn't have it in the logbook, but he told them that he took me to the jail. Because how is it that you arrest me at 10 and I don't get to the jail till 4?
Right.
So she ended up getting that gap, and then she ended up, whatever happened with Bo Taylor, I don't know, he ended up telling him, but I thought she ended up telling me that he was going to lose his license at the bar. And before you knew it, it went from 22 years to 10-year sentence. Then she was like, I could go in, and this is what she told me. Because we could have beat it. I could have walked free. I went to court. She came in, and I asked her, I said, well, none of my family there. I knew I was wrong. At this point, I know I understood not just that case, but everything I had done at that point. And I said, who? I said, is any of my, she said, no, well, they offered me 15. She said, right now they coming down to 15. I said, no, tell them I'll take an 8. Or was it 12? I said, tell them I'll take an 8. She went out there and he said, 12. She came back and she said, I told them split the difference. We'll do 10. And then I asked her, I was like, man, it's my family out there. And she was like, no, ain't nobody out there. She was like, Joe, you need to take this. She was like, y'all got away. She was like, this is, to them, you won.
This is a win.
This is a win. And she was like, and she was like, you were there, you done it. She was like, take this 10, do that time, and do something with your life. And I signed it, went in, and
How old were you?
just turned 19.
Oh. It doesn't see. I feel like a year went by. It's been 3 days. No, but I mean, it's been a few months.
Yeah,
but it seems like
just turned 19. I just turned 19, and that's still just scratching the surface. As far as stories on the streets, and then getting to prison. My daddy was retired at the time as far as GD, but my daddy was what they call a 9 tray.
what does that mean?
It's basically the head
Right.
of the G's. And so by the time but he had retired at the time. So by the time I get there,
He retired.
I'm thinking that's some form of protection. That's some form. He was basically a made man. Like, I'm not finna have to go in with the kind of issues that most people probably worry about. I'm gonna kind of go in with Joe T, my daddy, and
Right. What is the charge that you?
oh, they dropped it down. They what I signed for was which wasn't even a charge, which wasn't even a real charge. Is they charged me with attempt to commit robbery.
Okay.
Yeah, I got attempt to commit. Let me make sure I'm saying it right. Attempt to commit special aggravated robbery. I got 10 years, and then they gave me 1 year for the escape.
Okay.
And I went to trial on the escape. I tried to beat them. I did. They wouldn't bring the officers in. They said they couldn't get in touch with them and this and that. And yeah. I went to trial on it. They could have gave me 5 years for it, but when we split the difference, she said, you know, if he do, they can give you I think the max because of my range was 2 years. And when she told me that, that's why I said, let's just go to trial. But when they gave me the 10, she said that they'll put the 1 on it and give you 11. 11 years at 30%. And then I had already done 2 years and 3 months. So she was like, you could see the board at 3 years and 4 months. I'm thinking, sure, cool. I got some time on I go in and get parole. But they made me do the whole 10.
So what with the good time though? So you ended up doing what, 7, 8?
I did the whole 10.
Woo!
I went in 2007 and got out 2017.
Oh wow.
Yeah, they took majority of the jail time because I was still on the 4 years paper. They took that and satisfied the 4 years.
Okay.
The papers.
You know, every state's different.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So it's like I'm always trying to relate it to how it would work in the Feds.
I do the same way.
But you know, and then I'll talk to somebody who we have guys that got like, 20 years, and you're like 20 years. They're like, yeah, 20 years. And they're like, so like 3 years later, I get out. Through what?
Yeah,
right. It's like no, it's a nonviolent crime. You do half your time plus 70% good time, and you're like, oh my god, that's some states are. I think what states like that? Shrinker. Know a guy named Shrinker got like 20 something years. He did like 3. Like the fuck? That's insane.
Yeah.
So 10 years.
Yeah, they took that. Yeah, they took that. They took my jail time. Satisfied.
All right, guys, I'm going to stop it right there. I hope we learned some things today. If you're on the run, keep on running, baby. Learn from Joe, because the more you stop, the more time you got to let the cops catch up. If this video does well, I'll post another part. I've been Jay Stat. That ain't this. Peace.